Good morning. Appreciate you joining us today. Hope you rested well last night. Come on with us to the book of Proverbs today. In Proverbs, we're going to be looking at a passage that talks about contentment, frankly. Proverbs chapter 12. Just a quick verse today in our little bit of daily bread. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 11. It says, "He who tills his land will be satisfied with bread, but he who follows frivolity is devoid of understanding." So let's think about that idea. Tilling land, satisfied, frivolity. Um, think about those ideas and consider a few points that we might make. One is this. Um, Here's an individual, the wise person, that he is willing to work for his bread. And I think one of the points of the passage is sometimes people just want something for nothing. They want everything just given to them, and they don't want to work for it. Well, here, this individual, he is willing to work for his bread. He tills the land. He who tills the land will be satisfied with bread. He doesn't want something for nothing. He recognizes a man reaps what he sows. If you want to reap, then you need to sow. And he's willing to sow. He's willing to put in the effort. He's willing to work for his bread. I think that's one point we can make from the passage. A lot of folks, they're not willing to work for their bread. But also, the man works with what he has. Look back in the passage. He who tills his land will be satisfied with bread. There's something to be said about working with what we have and not working with what we don't have. Sometimes people think about the parable of the talents. Each individual was given the talents based on his ability. I believe the passage says. Well, sometimes folks overestimate what they have. And because they overestimate what they have, they they don't work like they need to be working. Here's an individual who works with what he has. He tills his land. You work with what you have, whatever it may be. You play the cards that are dealt you, if you will, to use that analogy. But there's something to be said about that. That sometimes what folks do is they spend all their time dreaming, they spend all their time chasing after frivolity, following after frivolity, right? Vain things, things they don't have. They spend all their time going after those things rather than working with what they have. Might be one of the points we can make from the passage as well. Here, the individual is content and satisfied. And I think it uses the word satisfied, I believe, to look at the passage. He who tills his land will be satisfied. I do think that it's the idea of contentment, but to think about that satisfied. He is satisfied with with his own work. The passage that comes to my mind is in Galatians. It talks about let each man examine his own work, and then he will have rejoicing in himself alone. He's not examining someone else's work. He's content and he's satisfied with his own work. And there's something to be pardon me, about that. And he lives. And I want you to consider sometimes folks are always dreaming rather than working. Sometimes folks are always following after frivolity. They are right, vanity, vain things, empty things. They're always, rather than working with what they have, rather than being content with a little, rather than being content with their own work, they're always chasing. And because they're always chasing, they never prosper. They never work, and they are not satisfied with these things. Here, an individual, he's willing to work for his bread, and that is how he is sustained. This is how he lives. Just think about that picture of here's someone who he's willing to work. The man who follows frivolity, what is he going to find in winter? Is he going to have grain harvested? Is he going to have bread through the winter? Or is he going to have nothing? And that's what happens. People chase frivolity and they end up grasping for the wind and they end up with nothing. But here, the wise man, because he's willing to work and he's content and he works with what he has, he lives, he is sustained, he prospers. Now, think about that idea. A lot of folks, they're just grasping for the wind. Don't grasp for the wind. It is not what the godly do. So, just a little bit of our daily bread today, just to make us think about God's word and to make us think a little bit about spiritual matters and applying spiritual matters. Appreciate you joining us. Hope you have a good day. Hope you tune in tomorrow for another brief look into God's word. Thanks for being with us today.